I'm your platform partner, Jackson 360, your hustling homie as well, and I want to talk there for your upcoming speaking engagement. Now, this video, what I'm going to cover more of is actually preparing the speech and the content that you're going to talk about, as well as now you're traveling and you're going to the venue. All right. So before I get into that, check out part one as well as part three, where I'm talking about the other parts of preparation as well. So let's get focused on part two. So when it comes to the preparation now, so you've already booked the event, you've emailed, like I talked about in part one in a series. You've already sent an email. You've asked about what past speakers have done that were very effective and what didn't work in the past. You've also positioned yourself where you've interviewed someone there in that city, company, or that community. So you got an idea on what the culture and the needs and concerns are. And then lastly, you've also put yourself in a position where you begin to kind of like begin to like prepare your message and get all your travel and things together. So at this point, now let's start developing the presentation because you understand every group is different. What works for one group may not work for the next. So you got to ask yourself now, what is your presentation going to be? Now, depending on you as a speaker, every speaker is a little different. I know some speakers have what you call a signature talk, which is kind of a sales sort of talk. It's almost like a song. It's a 30-minute song that they use in every different presentation they go to. But I want you to understand this is that first you need to know what lane you're stepping in. And speaking, there's three different lanes. You have seminars, you have workshops, and you have trainings for the most part. And then you also have like lectures. All right. And so you want to know which one are you stopping to? Are you going into? Because think of it like driving down a road. Don't want to go 65 miles per hour in a school zone that's only 25 miles per hour. Then you're going too fast in the wrong place. Now you're illegal. You also don't want to be going to only 25 miles per hour if you're on the expressway in a 55 mile per hour situation. And so that means if it's a seminar, you don't want to prepare for it like you would a workshop or a training because a seminar is less time. So seminars are typically events that are an hour or under. The goal is just to get people excited and get people to take a next step to a deeper training or workshop. So a seminar is where you come to get motivated. Hey, I'm just going to maybe talk to you for 15, 20 minutes just to get people excited and going. So that's the seminar. That's when you really are throwing the sizzle on the steak. You're just letting people know I know my stuff. I'm gonna give you maybe one or two things. Keep in mind when you're giving points. One thing, a formula to keep in mind that's really effective is that uh, one main point every 10 minutes is usually very, very effective when you give one primary point that you're drilling every 10 minutes. Because if you're squeezing too much information in, then you're squeezing your audience out. Keep in mind that the average consumer brain can only remember and retain so much information over. And if you're verbally vomiting and giving them information overload, trying to do too much content in a very short amount of time, most people will not be able to absorb that. Now, of course, the exception to the rule is if they're going to be filming and video and everything and they just want to get you in and there, like that's rare, but it happens. But if you really want to be effective and see people get results, you want to do maybe no more than one point every 10 minutes. And you can give them different examples to illustrate that point or to give them three different points that support that one point, but you primarily want to drive one point and say it in two to three different ways and different that way it's ingrained in their mind. All right. So that's one thing that's very important. So remember, are you doing a seminar, or doing workshop training, or a lecture? So if you're doing, let's say, a workshop, now a workshop is a little longer. Now, if you're doing a workshop, now we're talking, you could be with this group anywhere from an hour minimum to maybe 3 to 5 hours. All right. And so if it's a workshop, now you're really getting involved with engaging the audience. Because sometimes you being a speaker is not about you going and talking. Sometimes you being a speaker is just about getting other people to engage with each other in groups, and you just facilitating. You play more of a facilitator role than you are a speaker role. And so if you're doing a workshop and you're facilitating, you want to make sure that you're preparing whatever your slideshow that you're preparing. Also, if you're going to do certain images and pictures, I got another video I'll talk about how to prepare really good PowerPoint and slideshows. But so you got to determine how you're going to do this. If you got a workshop, are you going to use props? Are you going to use physical things to help you illustrate your point? Whether it be newspaper articles, or are you going to use like a prop, like a cigarette, to illustrate, whatever you're trying to illustrate with your point. Those type of things, props really help the human brain absorb something when you use props. I know it's creative, but a lot of speakers don't use them, and so that's a great opportunity when you use that. When you pull out some duct tape and you tell people to think about this duct tape in such a way, like that really helps people. That helps you stand out and you be very memorable. Okay. Also using acronyms, things like that. But that's another video. I'm going to do another video where I talk about how do you anchor your points down. But anyway, let's get back to the point with here with this video. So are you doing a workshop or are you doing a training? Now, if you're doing a training can last a few days sometimes. Training people, that means you may be meeting with folks for 5 hours in a day for 2 days in a row, right? And so now you got to keep in mind things like when is breakfast, when is lunch, when are you speaking? Because all of this is going to play a role, and you want to ask these questions to the people that are booking you for the event. What time will I be speaking? When is the lunch? So I can know, am I speaking before lunch, after lunch? You want to know the mood people are going to be in as you're speaking with them, so you can better just be prepared and do what you have to do. So are you speaking in a seminar, workshop, training, or a lecture? Usually lectures are more like school, where you're just talking and people are just passively listening. Lectures are good, but you got to keep in mind lectures can be very boring. Even if you got good information, most people after 45 seconds, they don't want to hear. I mean, they may still want to hear you, but their brain starts to shut down. So you need to make sure if you're speaking in a lecture format, after 45 to 50 minutes, you got to take a break. Let people go out, go to, stretch their legs, 10 minutes, give them a 5 to 10 minute break. Let them grab something to eat, shop and spend money with a vendor, whatever. Give them a 5 to 10 minute break after 45 to 50 minutes. And then when they come back, they're going to come back fresh and ready to rock and roll. So keep that in mind. These are some things you want to do to start preparing. Are you doing a lecture, training, workshop, etc.? So I hope this helps. I hope this makes sense. So now that you know that, you can start preparing your speech. Um, I I want to do. Also, I want to say this: you got to use stories. So when you interviewing and you're figuring out where you're going to talk in terms of your group and what who they are, create a story. That's why you should have a story journal. And in that story journal, you have a list of stories that you just happen in your life that are impactful or transformational. And then you write different points that you can make and say, hey, here's an inspirational story. Here's a story that talks about business. Here's a story that talks about relationships. So that way, when you're talking with these different groups and you're giving different talks, you can always say, hey, this would be a good opportunity to use this story right here. Because most people are going to remember stories. Because remember, a story is more powerful than a speech any day. Because stories are transformational. And that's what people can relate. Is also that's when they let down their subconscious mind, or they let down their conscious mind and they open up their subconscious. So it's easy to program a person and get them to believe in what you're saying on a much deeper level when you're telling stories or parables, etc., etc. So I hope this helps and get you prepared for your next speech. Make sure you check out part 3. Also, get the book as well. We got the whole book series. Look down below and you'll see that information. Also, get everything else we're doing. We got the classes, the speaking engagements. If you're looking to get a personal speaking mentor, if you're looking to get